Hello everybody, it's a Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to book reviews. So, behind me you can see, by the way, doesn't this painted background look super real? No, I'm kidding, this is the edge of my yard. Behind me you will see, wrong shoulder, behind me you will see a dog kennel for a 4-month-old dog for when I mow the lawn, because I'm worried that I will run over the dog with a lawnmower. It terrifies me. She hates it. I try to keep her out of it as much as I can. So she doesn't live back there, so don't worry about that. She's not an outdoor dog or anything. I'm super worried that you guys are going to think I'm like this horrible dog owner when I actually spoil this dog and like love her. She's running around right now. She's just like, she attacked the tripod in an earlier take on a video, and I had to, because, I mean, you can't let a dog just be attacking your tripod, so that recording got scrapped. Yeah, anyway, so the dog is running around. She's right over there. She is right over there. Nice view of my tattoo. There you go. So, today we're doing The Forever Piece by Joe Haldeman, who wrote The Forever War. Now, he won the Hugo Award in 1998 for this. And one of the things that should be said, and is often said about this book, it is not a sequel to The Forever War. Here's the deal. So, there are some thematic things in common. I mean, Haldeman's still a Vietnam vet. Like, he still has these kind of experiences with war, and some of that stuff is touched on. Now, a thing that you would, so there is some Haldeman Vietnam vet stuff in here, which is to be expected. You don't expect an author to put his life aside so he can write novels, but it isn't a sequel. It isn't, and The Forever War is, an amazing novel, and we know that. We've dealt with that already. So here we go. The Ngumi War rages, fought by soldier boys, remote-control war machines run by soldiers hundreds of miles away. Julian Class is one of these soldiers, and for him, war is indeed hell. The psychological strain of being jacked into a soldier boy, and the genocidal results are becoming too much to bear. Now he and his lover, Dr. Amelia Harding, have made a terrifying scientific discovery that could literally put the universe back to square one. For Julian, however, the discovery isn't terrifying. It's tempting. So, you can think about the way these things work as being like kind of Avatar-ish, right? So you have these giant mech suits that you go into these containers and you see through the eyes of the mech suit, and you go out, and people go out in these rotations of something like 10 days. So, and then they rotate out, so there's like 3 teams, so they rotate these people out, and the passage we're going to read is about a massacre where a bunch of, there was an attempt to kill the people who are piloting these soldier boys. Automatic cameras had recorded the carnage, and a copy of the scene fell into Ngumi hands. It was powerful propaganda in a world that couldn't be shocked by death or violence. To the camera, Julian's 10 comrades were not young men and women naked under an unrelenting spray of lead. They were symbols of weakness, triumphant evidence of the Alliance's vulnerability in the face of Ngumi dedication. The Alliance called it a freakish kamikaze attack by 2 murderous fanatics. It was a situation that could never be duplicated. They didn't publicize the fact that all of the native staff in Portobello were fired the next week, replaced by American draftees. This was hard on the economy of Portobello proper, as the base was its largest source of income. Panama was a most favored nation, but not a full Alliance member, which in practical terms meant it had limited use of American nanoforges, but there weren't any of the machines within its boundaries. There were about 24 small countries in a similar unstable situation. 2 nanoforges in Houston were reserved for Panama. The Panama Import-Export Board decided what they were used for. Houston supplied them with a wish book, a list of how long it took to make something, and what raw materials had to be supplied by the canal zone. Houston could supply air and water and dirt. If something required jeez, this dog. If something required an ounce of platinum, I feel like I lost where I was, or a speck of dysprosium, Panama would have to dig it up somewhere, or somehow. The machine had limits. You could give it a bucket of coal and it could return a perfect copy of the Hope Diamond, which would make a dandy paperweight. Of course, if you wanted a fancy gold crown, you'd have to supply the gold. If you wanted an atomic bomb, you'd have to give it a couple of kilograms of plutonium. But fission bombs were not in the wish book, nor were soldier boys or any other products of advanced military technology. Planes and tanks were okay and among the most popular items. She's just doing this to get to me. She knows I'm not paying attention to her. This is the way things worked. The day after the Portobello base was emptied of native workers, the Panama Import-Export Board presented the alliance with a detailed analysis of the impact of the loss of income. It was obvious that someone had foreseen the eventuality. After a couple of days haggling, the alliance agreed to increase their nanoforge allotment from 48 hours per day to 54. 48 hours per day to 54, yeah. Along with a one-time settlement of $500 million credit in rare materials. So if the Prime Minister wanted a Rolls-Royce with a solid gold chassis, he could have it, but it wouldn't be bulletproof. The Alliance did not officially care how client nations came up with their requests for the machines. Okay, so I actually thought that this was going to be a passage about kind of this massacre that happened. I didn't read it before. I just kind of flipped open to where my bookmark had been. And what happens is these soldier boys are jacked in, and then the next 10 are waiting to jack in. And it's like the last day of their assignment, and somebody comes in and sprays the capsules with like machine guns and kills a bunch of the support staff because the capsules are bulletproof, right? But they did have explosives on them, and they had this plan, and it's kind of indicative of this American big military industrial complex being attacked by guerrilla warriors in the same way that this kind of was the entire theme and failing of Vietnam. And that's fine. But the crux of the novel is this. So they find out that the government is hiding this secret that if people are jacked in for too long, they become entirely empathetic. So if you are, because people are in a shared consciousness state, so the 10 people jacked together, they can read each other's thoughts and feel each other's, pain or impulses and stuff. And so that's why they're rotated out. It's because if you stay in longer than 10 days, I don't remember how long it is, then you become this kind of super empathetic human being who is no longer capable of taking life. And this also happens if you jack in a group with somebody this has already happened to. So super empathy can spread through this machine, kind of like a virus. And they find this out by realizing that the first group of people who were jacked in for like months at a time, and they all live in this kind of secret retirement home. So they realize that what they have is they have this super weapon, right, against the war, is that they can start spreading this around by jacking people in with these veterans who will become super empathetic, and then making other people super empathetic, and then jacking them in groups, and it will spread exponentially until eventually the entire war, or the entire world, will become, it will make the species of humanity incapable of making war with itself. This is like a crazy cool thing, right? So that's what the main character in this book and his accomplices have decided to try to do. And obviously, then there is a blowback against this plot by the military-industrial complex, because war and hegemony are the entire basis of international politics. They are like keeping countries in spheres of influences and subservient, or at least inferior to other countries through the threat of violence, is the basis of our entire human history. So this guy realizes that he can end these things. It actually has a lot. It is almost a spiritual successor to the Forever Machine in this kind of way, that that technology accidentally has the side effect of making humanity different, fundamentally different. And so, Haldeman's main character, who Julian Class, has decided that this is the right thing to do, as most of us would. Although there is an argument to be made, which is touched on in the novel, that obviously fundamentally changing humanity's base characteristics is inherently immoral. But when the base characteristic that you're changing is the ability for people to murder other people, well, then, that is the idea of the Forever War. It is not kind of as dystopian as or the Forever Peace. It's not kind of as dystopian for you know, what happens to the main characters in the Forever War, which you should read. Is it a Hugo award-winning novel? It is. This is a good novel. Yes. Is Haldeman, you know, right on point with his kind of messaging? Yeah, he is. It's interesting to me, the kind of similarity, because if you've seen Avatar, you can't not think of that while you're reading this book. And they actually are not that separate in time, right? So the idea that somebody ripped off somebody else, I think is probably minimal. It just so happens that these kind of things came out at the same time. Like the style, she's right under the tripod. If she moves wrong, she's gonna bump this camera. There it is. There it is. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I'll finish the review with you in my lap if you'll just. Oh my god. So yeah. Anyway, so I really like the Forever War. You didn't. This Forever Peace is the one we're doing. I really like the Forever Peace. She didn't read it. She didn't. She doesn't look at this. She doesn't have the attention span for that. So like, okay. So Haldeman's Forever Peace. It's a good read. It's a good read. Is it gonna be? At some point, I think I'm actually going to do kind of a top 10 or top 5 for this list, and at some point I think I'll probably do a bottom 5. Right? I'm already thinking about these videos. And will it make it into those videos? It won't. It won't. It's a good book. Is it a great book compared to the other books in this list? It's not going to be one of my favorites. But it is good to see Haldeman like winning a Hugo Award and writing kind of stuff of this caliber 20 years after winning for the Forever War. So yeah, Forever Peace, good book. It is 300 pages long, and there's nothing wrong with the formatting. It's an easy read. Yeah. So it also won the John W. Campbell Award and got Publisher Weekly Best Book of the Year. It's a good book. It's a good book. It's a good read. You should read it and think of Avatar while you are, because it helps to visualize the soldier boys. That's what I found. So I'll get out of the sun here, and when we come back, we have 2 Hugo Award winners that I've read left, and then we have this year's winner, which I haven't touched yet. So I will see you guys for that. Bye, everybody.